Welcome to the Inside Silverstone podcast, a business-focused podcast covering all things tech, engineering and innovation. Hosted by me, Chris Broome, a huge tech, motorsport and gaming fan, and also the owner of Longhurst, a firm of lifestyle financial planners and independent financial advisors located in Silverstone, Northamptonshire. This is a series of unscripted and unpolished conversations with leading business owners, thought leaders and high-tech talent where we discuss their experiences within the Silverstone business and motorsport region. We will also be asking them to share their knowledge, insight and their thoughts on the future just for you. If you're looking to learn more about the Silverstone high growth region and commercially connect with like-minded peers, you've definitely come to the right place. Welcome to Inside Silverstone. Welcome to the next edition of Inside Silverstone. My name is Chris Broome and I am your host. Today I am delighted to welcome to the show a new friend, John Lashley from Brooklyn Brownie Co. John, welcome to the show, my man.
Hey Chris, how you doing, brother?
John, look, we've just been talking off air before we started recording. You know, I reached out to you about a week ago on LinkedIn, and the reason for that is I saw something was being promoted or you were talking about something. I clicked on your profile. I saw your job title, which is what? What's your job title?
I'm the main dude.
You're the main dude. I saw your branding. I then went to your website. I immediately fell in love with it. I love the content and I love the narrative behind the business and the story behind it. And I was like, I have to get this guy on my podcast, even though it's got nothing to do with Silverstone, but it has everything to do with our region and our community. So John, I've sort of bigged it up a bit. Talk to us about Brooklyn Brownie Co. Talk to us about the story. Talk to us about your why.
Oddly enough, it will come back to Silverstone because I knew nothing about Formula One until 5 years ago, but you'll find out about that later.
Okay.
But Brooklyn Brownie, me and my son, we created this business about a little over a year ago, end of July. I was a creative consultant going into London and fixing creative problems and helping with advertising campaigns and things of that nature. And our life suddenly had to pivot because my son, we had a 50-50 household. He lived with his mom in Milton Keynes. She was an NHS nurse. She took her own life on the weekend that I picked up my son. And it was shocking. It kind of hit the family, man. It was crazy. You know, I remember the Friday so clearly, it's insane. So I got a phone call in the afternoon after I picked up Leo. We had a great day, me and Leo, and then I got the phone call. They couldn't find her, and I instantly started to trace where she might be and things of that nature, because she was a creature of habit. You know, she was very, very, very good mom, and then got the phone call around 8 o'clock, to which they said they found her body, and then from that point on, it was switching back over to almost like, unfortunately, my whole life is very production based. It's how am I going to break this news to my son without the most detrimental impact, long-term impact. And it started from that moment. I got the call, cleared the house, you know, of people who didn't need to be in there. We didn't know what was going on, but it was still chill. You know, he was still having this chill weekend with his dad. So we all crashed downstairs watching television, had a sleepover on the floor, blah, 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 ordered in food and stuff. He finally went to bed after watching movies, and I just stayed up sitting there thinking, if we do it here, we do it there, blah, blah, blah. All these things, how do you do this? And then I still have the picture when I woke up at 7, or actually like 6:45, and he was laying there. It was weird. He was laying there in the American flag blanket I have. I took a picture of him at that moment because he just still looked like a baby. He still looked like Leo when we first had him and everything.
How old was he?
And he was 12 at that time. He's now 13. And then I allowed him to wake up on his own. And then we just went and did chores because I still couldn't figure out what to do. But I said we had to get out of the house because I did not want to tell him this news in our home environment because I didn't want him to think every time he sat in the living room, this is where I was told. So we did a little bit of chores, you know, picking up medication, so on and so forth. And then we just drove. I was just driving around Northampton, man, because I was still buzzing in my head. What am I going to do? And I did a few turns. We ended up in some woods. I still don't know where these woods are. But we just hiked into them for a little while, and then it started raining. Leo was like, where are we going, Dad? And I was like, And then we got to the trail end, and that's when I told him. I hugged him and I told him, I said, "Son, I have to tell you something." And yeah, he broke down pretty bad, but we walked back to the car, and and then we drove back home. And oddly enough, it was that point in time I realized that Leo was so much like me, it was scary. Um, because he went upstairs to the bathroom, the house was silent, so I could hear him sobbing. So I went up there and said, "Son, come on out." And we climbed back into our the bed, into our bedroom, and he just sobbed for like 3 hours straight. But then he passed out. He really did. I think emotional. I've never seen that before in my life. Who does? He passed out,
Yeah.
and then he woke up about 2 hours later. My partner was back at the time, and she popped in and she was like, "Is everybody all right?" Kind of the British thing. Yeah, it's an awkward one. But Leo was like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm cool." And I was just looking at him like, that's something I would do. I would reboot, and I've done it in the past. And he was just like on his phone, playing video games and like messaging his friends and stuff like that. He was like, "Yeah, I'm good. Can I get a soda?" And she was like, "Yeah, yeah, cool." And then she went to the bathroom and texted me. She was like, "Did you tell him?" And I said, "Yeah, he's my son." And that was it, man. And he's just rolled from there. He went and met his brothers, later on, and they were a little bit like, because they're older, they're like, "Oh, we felt that we should have told him, blah blah blah." And I was like, "It's not your place. It's your place to be his brothers, his friends, his everything to play around with. It's my job and parental responsibility to give him the good and the bad." I said, "It's your job to just make him smile." So I would never put that strain on you boys. And they were like, "Thank you." They understood. So they had their time. And then when we left there, oddly enough, Leo was like, "The only reason why I cried again was because they were all sad." And he's like, "I wasn't really sad. I already did that." And I was like, "Son, unfortunately, this is going to be the reality. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to put their grief on you." I said, "We had stuff to do with the funeral and so on and so forth." And I speak to him just like that. I spoke to him like that since he was a baby. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, but I think that's why he's so resilient and practical. And from then, we pretty much ran, man, because, we launched the brand like about a week before or so. And then this whole thing happened. And we had a question on
Brownies had gone live. Sorry to interrupt you. Brooklyn Brownies had gone live a week before.
Yeah, and it was just kind of like suddenly this thing, and we were like, "What?" And yeah, it was kind of like people have asked, "How are you guys so successful? How are you guys doing this?" And things of that nature. And what I've always said, and I think I did put out a video about it, I said, never envy anyone's success because you don't know what drives them. And when I looked back at it, we're running away from that day. We have run from that bloody day until we've come full circle back on the end of July. And it was just like a hit in the face with a sledgehammer. And yeah, we had to face it again. But we've carried on. We've plowed through very well. But from the acceleration from that day, dude, we started sprinting. We wanted to get away from that pain as far as we possibly could, and that's why I would say we are as grown as quickly as we have, because I think we wanted to feel good. We wanted to feel achievements. We wanted to go, "Hey, look, Mom," or "Look, Lane, this is what we're doing, and we're doing this thing. We're doing something positive." And we're letting people know, we're being open, we're being honest, we're being straight with people, and we're helping people cope. We've had quite a few messages about people who have been on the verge and teetering and having mental health issues, and they're just like, how are you guys doing this? How open are you? We're like, "We're super open. We'll tell you everything." It's just like, why hide anything anymore? Especially when there's a life at stake. So that's our ethos: share, be positive, be cool, and if you can't, just block. That's about it, man. And we've just driven our business that way. We have friends, we don't really have customers. And everybody's a dude and a dudette when they message us, even if they're 80. You know what I mean? We've had like some 80-year-old women call and everything. I'm still chatting to them. "Hey, do that, blah, blah." And they're just like, "Excuse me?" I'm like, "Yeah, how you doing? Do that." And they're like, it's like, after a while, they get it, man. They're just like, "Yo, they're going to buy brownies from this crazy guy. This is how he chats." And everybody digs it. We have a nice laugh. We have a really cool ethos. And I think we have helped we have changed the community a bit, because the baking community on Instagram and stuff is very sterile, and very, I guess, PC. We ain't PC.
Yeah, it's not PC.
We're not, and we pretty much will like blast anybody or roast anyone, and they've kind of like gone, actually, these guys are having fun. They're doing crazy things. They're changing things, and they're having fun. And it seems like they're a following. People dig it, and we're just being ourselves, and we're finally, truthfully being ourselves.
I think first of all, thank you for sharing that story. And you know, what an amazing father you clearly are to Leo, and what an amazing boy Leo clearly is, because you know, that's an incredibly tough situation. You just launched a business together. A week later, mum, you're a year down the line, and as I said, I love the brand. I've literally been eating these brownies, so I bought a box of these brownies. Literally, I'm showing them to the camera right now. These brownies yesterday. Here's some of the things that you're getting them, and they are phenomenal. But you're right, you're like totally non-PC, which I just love. You go onto the website and there's an FAQ page where it's saying, do you do smaller boxes? And it's like, unfortunately, we don't offer smaller boxes. We believe everybody should be stuffed full of BBC. I'm sitting there thinking, are they allowed to say that? But he just has, because it's Brooklyn Brownie Co, right? And I'm
Exactly.
like, has he really put that on his website? And he has, and I love it, because it's just like, do you know what? You're right. You know, I can imagine the baking community, certainly when you watch the Great British Bake Off,
Yeah.
it's starting to evolve, right? But they need you on that show, doing what you're doing. It's phenomenal. So let's talk about the business, and let's talk about the product. So why are you different? So, you know, there are lots of brownie companies out there. What makes your brownies different?
Well, the thing was, I kept telling Leah, I kept telling him about this like lore of the brownie from the 80s. And it was crazy. It was just like, it was something that I remembered, because when I was younger, I was allergic to chocolate. I'm still intolerant to chocolate, but I was terribly allergic to chocolate. So my mom should cook these brownies. And I just remember the smell. I remember the look. My sister's eating them enviously. I was watching them. And she'd bag them up and put them in the refrigerator. And I'd pretty much steal them and run up to my bedroom, chew them up, Chris, and then spit them out, man, because I couldn't swallow them. So I was just like, oh. So I remembered fanatically the texture of the corner piece. And that was just burnt in my brain for so many years. And I was just like, oh, man, Leah, because we'd go around and we'd buy brownies from cafes and other things. And I was like, these brownies are like, I was like, they're good, but they're like frosting. They're kind of like fudge, you know, not like how people say a fudgy brownie. I was like, it's like fudge. It's almost like, I said, if they pulled back the flour just a tiny bit, it will be a block of fudge. And he was like, what are you talking about? So I was like, right, I got to figure this out. So like 100 bakes later, we got this brownie, and he ate it, and he was like, is it an 80s brownie? I was like, yeah. I was like, it's actually better than an 80s brownie. I was like, but this is it. I was like, and the cool thing about it is the way, and then people, you know, people were kind of like, oh, but what about the classic brownie, you know, which is flat, and, you know, people get the square and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's your problem. Our brownie solves the issue of the corner piece, and that's what I remember chewing up in my bedroom, the corner. And so, you know, we wanted, with every bite, you get that nice chewy edge.
Yeah.
So we're fanatical about texture, taste, and also overall look, and just branding, really, man. I mean, from the get-go, we were like, yo, we want people to invest in this brand. You know what I mean? We want people who want to tattoo this brand on their body, which we've now got 3 tattoos on people. We got 2 others lined up. They're about to get them. Somebody's about to get a back piece. But yeah, it's quite cool, man. You know, people want to emblazon our logo on their body for life, and it's good. It's very good.
What about toppings? Come on, the toppings.
Oh, right, yeah. Toppings.
Unique, right?
Toppings, I guess, from the resident box, you know, you have the s'moregasm, which is a typical American thing. A s'more, everybody eats a s'more in America. You got a thick marshmallow, slab of chocolate, you know, and a graham cracker crust on top. You've got the Biggie Scoff, so I'm playing with a, you know, Biggie Smalls, so that's a big Biscoff one. You have the crumbly cookie, you got white chocolate, you got ribbons of milk chocolate, you have crunchy bits on top. Staten Island Dump, That's a play on a New Yorker hating on Staten Island, but you know what I mean. We always have that rivalry, but you know it's fun. I got quite a few Staten Island friends anyway. But yeah, you got the pretzel. It's pretty much an everything brownie. You got a pretzel, you got potato chip, you got peanut M&Ms. I'm allergic to it, but the thing is, people love this one. You know, either you love it or hate it type of situation. But when they bite into it, and this is one of Leo's favorite out of all of ours, I thought it was weird that he liked it, but he's like, no, I love the sweet and salty. And I was like, cool, but there's a reason why there's sweet and salty popcorn. People like that stuff.
Yeah,
And then, you know, you got the old black and white. So instead of calling it just Oreo, it's a Oreo cookie with ribbons of white chocolate on it. Have unicorn explosion, which is my favorite. I love unicorns.
Well, what's on the unicorn explosion? Because that one, let me get it. I've got it here, actually. Let me show it to
Yeah, you got unicorns, rainbows, sprinkles, all types of craziness. You know, it's one of those brownies that it's just kind of, I like it because the texture. You got the crunch. You got a real crunch in there because of the hard sugar toppings. And then you got the get some nuts, which is a play on the whole Mr. T thing because I'm also a professional Mr. T lookalike. So it's quite a range I do. And then you got the basic bitch, which is absolutely fantastic. And it's just a nice gooey chocolatey brownie that I love to munch on with a nice glass of milk. That's just me, and that's our basic range. We've got all these luxury ranges as well. Last Christmas we did the most expensive box of brownies, which were 24 karat gold brownies. They were like wrapped in gold leaf, and wow. Yeah, we got some, and we were shipping that out with a bottle of like a base of Spade champagne. So yeah, we got it up there. Yeah, we just do different things. We do the ridiculous, and we do some very tasty stuff.
Well, I can certainly vouch in the last 24 hours, they taste phenomenal, and we will be ordering more. And in fact, actually, I hosted a quiz last night, and I gave the prize, and the prize is a box of your brownies. So they're going to be giving off to Joanne Clement, who works at the Silverstone Technology Cluster. And so she'll be getting a box. But these come in, is it 12 in a box?
12 in a box. It's around 1 kilo of chocolate. So
kilo of chocolate, happy days, and people can collect them safely, but you can also post them out.
Yeah, we have a brownie locker. They could collect them from the house anytime. We installed that because initially we got a whole bunch of messages from I call them the stoners, and I couldn't wait up until like 1 a.m. and I was like, what are these people doing ordering so late? And then I realized they'll come like little raccoons like scuttling about, eyes all red. Oh, look at them, my brownies. And I was like, oh, it's you type of people. So,
raccoons, little stoned raccoons.
Yeah, so we installed a locker, and we just pretty much loaded their brownies in. If they collected them, they collected them. If they didn't,
how many do you reckon you're baking and batches a week at the moment?
We're making around like 2,400 brownies a week.
Wow.
And we could go more. We could scale more. Once again, this production pipeline, I pretty much took the digital applications I used to use and made it physical, and realized how far we could stretch the unit that we have at the moment, which is our house that we converted into commercial spaces.
Wow, okay, so it's obviously operated from home, so that's obviously all signed off, commercial units, as you've said, and you're doing basically 10,000 a month at the moment-ish. Thereabouts.
We could, at a push, we could do that. I mean, the thing is, every week fluctuates. I guess it's all linked up to people's paydays and things of that nature, but we do have a steady flow. But yeah, we did see when we did a collaboration bar with the Chocolate Smiths how far we could actually push our little kitchen, and then we realized we needed to upgrade it and update it, which we did. The packing facility now, where it used to be my VFX office, and the kitchen has been all stripped out into stainless steel, and large commercial mixers and stuff. So yeah, we're doing it. It's cool.
What a great story. And what's your background? So I've had a look at LinkedIn, and it's really impressive. And it ranges from production, you've been involved with the TED production people, you've been working in the States, working in the UK, you've been lecturing at universities in the UK. So what's the sort of snapshot of your background?
My snapshot's very varied. It's a very classic, very education focused. My mother, she was huge on that. I left school, formal school, when I was around 7 years old because I was at risk. I had asthma, terrible asthmatic. I was always hospitalized. So the school didn't want me in their buildings anymore because I was at risk. I could sue basically. So they paid for professors to come to my house. So from the age of 7 to 15. I had personal lecturers come in and they'd teach me daily. And then I'd watch cooking shows afterwards. So I don't know if that's where the brownies came from or just where my love of cooking came from. I think the love of cooking. And then my mother, she's a real pusher. she believed I needed friends, and the friends on the street just weren't right. So she enrolled me in a university night classes at the age of 12. So I went into night classes doing art initially. And I remember my first art critique, and this professor, man, I still love this guy, Professor Bob Carter. Um, he ripped me to shreds, and that was a feeling that I never wanted again. Um, and I didn't have it again. I made sure I excelled. I was top of the class for forever from then on, and I loved it. I fed off of it because I was better than, like, 7-year-old people who were doing night classes, because usually it was older people in the class, and I'm like 12 years old and I'm drawing and I'm doing design work a lot better than like older people. And I thought, wow, this is great. I was buzzing off it. And then she was like, okay, you like that? Cool, you're gonna go into programming. And I was like, oh, okay. Programming wasn't that fun, but I had to do it because mom signed me up. And that was it. I took all those credits and I took them into, when I finally was able to graduate high school. I went to a high school of the arts. I finally got back into school in social integration. Did that for 2 years. It was like an academy on Long Island for like the gifted in art. And then graduated high school, moved into proper BFA and computer graphics. Took all those credits I got when I was a kid and was able to graduate early. And then I went to get my master's at NYU. While I was there, I worked on 2 films and lost a lot of friends because I was there as like a midweight compositor, and they came in later on as like runners and juniors. So it was awkward, but lost like half of my friends, and then I flew over here because I was a long distance relationship with Leo's mom and myself. And I didn't have anything holding me back, so I could move over a lot easier. Instantly started working at like film and production again, so BBC, which is oddly enough. I worked on in the Night Garden, a whole bunch of television shows for children. Worked on advertising campaigns and just digital agencies from then on and there on in, and different campaigns. So I learned a lot. I learned a ton of advertising tips and tricks, how to campaign manage, then when we grew into social media wise, how to create content for that, and everything else. And then oddly enough, I got pulled into the odd world of entertainment, which is the whole Mr. T thing. Ended up on Britain's Got Talent, ended up getting my bodyguard's license, protecting a president.
Really?
Yeah. It was weird. There was a company that wanted Mr. T to get his bodyguard's license. So I did it. You know what I mean? It was like 20 days in London, learning highly effective combative techniques, how to infiltrate security networks, how to protect your principal, and so on and so forth, how to navigate these streets, how to drive defensively and offensively. It was really intense. And I walked in there and I was honest. I was too honest. And everybody disrespected me because I was a geek. I walked in and they're like, the room was military. Everybody military except for one guy. I think he was like a security dude for like 20-something years. And they're going around the room, what are you? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a visual effects artist, blah, 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 creative director. Everybody's like, next. And I didn't get talked to for a week.
What a great story.
That was crazy, but I didn't get talked to for a week. But then the thing is, I taught the class because we had to do 2 PowerPoint presentations. I was done in 15 minutes. I was done and about to walk out the door with my laptop because I was carrying my laptop, and I realized there was a guy with a mouse upside down on the table. People like going, "What's PowerPoint?" And I was like, and I turned around. I was like, went to the front of the room, plugged my thing in because years of lecturing, I was fine with it. Plugged it in. I was like, "Hey guys, I know the teacher's gone. I know we're supposed to do this thing together. You don't really talk to me, but I'm going to teach you PowerPoint." And I taught them all PowerPoint to a level that they could get the slides together.
There we go.
And that was it. And then from then on in, they respected me. So that's why I got to be able to guard the president in Mayfair. It was crazy, absolutely crazy. So that goes into the book at some point.
This is a skill set that's clearly transitioned into baking brownies, right, in Northamptonshire.
Well, yeah, it did, because that went with the golden box of brownies, because we offered that as an upgrade. You had a bodyguard deliver the brownies directly to you for $1,000. So it worked really well.
That's insane. Talk to us about, obviously it's Black History Month at the moment, and and rightly so, getting a much needed airtime and a critically important narrative, not just regarding sort of Black History Month, but anything regarding a diversive sort of population, whether it's UK, US, which is obviously your home country, versus anywhere else in the world. You're clearly an entrepreneur. There's no doubt about that. You're running a phenomenal brand. It's only a year in. You're multi-award winning, which we'll come on to in a minute. But sort of your history, your background, your experiences, talk to us about that.
I would say I love the UK. When I moved to the UK, actually my first visit to the UK was my first time out of New York State. So it was crazy. When you're in America, your states are so huge, you usually don't leave them. My dad only got a passport about 10 years ago. That's a typical American thing to do. So I came over here, my first visit to see Leo's mom. And this was when I was 18. And this is how conditioned I was. We landed, we stopped off at Sainsbury's. We walked through the door, she's walking through this produce. I stop. And she turns down, she's like, "Babe, are you coming?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm just waiting for him to catch up." And she's like, "Who? And what are you talking about?" I was like, "Security, I'm giving security a minute to catch up." That's how conditioned I was in the way of life in America. I felt that I knew I was followed constantly around stores, and you kind of like pace to whatever the security dude was walking, and that's about it, just to make life easier. I realized that summer when I stayed in the UK how conditioned I was, because I'd get onto an elevator and I was conditioned almost to like say sorry. And I was doing that from like early age. I was constantly saying sorry. And people would look at me like in the UK, like, "What is this guy up? What?" What I mean? Like, did he just pass wind? Did he just fart? What's going on? Because why is he saying sorry already? So unfortunately, Chris, that sent me back home, back to New York with actually a chip on my shoulder. Because I was like, "Well, Dougie, we're not supposed to be living like this." Dougie, my little brother, I was like, "We're not supposed to be living like this, bro." I was like, "There's a different way of life, and it is not the way we're living." And and I was like, "I have to graduate, I have to do work on some films." So I got my CV ready, and I'm gone. And that was the plan. I moved here, and man, I've been loving it. I've been loving it. You know what I mean? It's been a great environment. England is cool. It does have its issues as well. I found as I moved up further and further in my industries, that there are some barriers, and there's not many people that look like me in some of the design houses, in the creative areas. But I look at what we're doing now, myself and Leo, and I kind of have to go, well, number one, I don't want my son to ever have to deal with this. He will always be covered, I mean, no matter what he goes into. If he wants to go and play the flute somewhere, knock it out on a mountaintop for a while, and then he'll come back and make money. But at least it'll fund his lifestyle, just once it's not detrimental to his health in any way. So yeah, he's a good boy, and that's all this business is about. I don't want him to ever feel some of the things I've had to feel. I've always felt I've had to prove myself, and crazily enough, prove myself to help people make money in their campaigns. And most of the time, I did. All the time, I did. So now that we're doing it all for ourselves, it's amazing. You know what I mean? Me and Leo, it's cool. It's a cool little tag team. He knows he's never really going to have to worry. People dig our dynamic. People, I don't know if they see us as anything as just John and Leo. I don't mind if they see us as black or whatever. They just see us as like two crazy dudes who are just insane. I mean, who buys a bloody, Elon Musk's not a flamethrower? You know what I mean? But it's just like, I do, but it's cool, man.
I love it. Talk to us about Leo. So Leo's now 13. So Leo's at school. So presumably he's at school learning, being educated, becoming a superstar. And then he comes home and helps dad on the production line.
Yeah, Leo's, man, he's a good kid. He's back at school. We didn't know if he was going to go back because he also has seasonal asthma. I'm an asthmatic, still terrible asthmatic. He unfortunately got those genes from me. His mom got rid of all the other allergies, though, so she's got amazing genes. So bred all that nonsense out of him. So he's back at school, masked up, and he's getting along good because he's getting, I think, what he needed, the social integration. So for myself, I didn't feel the need that. For Leo, I think it's very, very good for him, and it's very good for some of the children around here. And he's loving it. And he's constantly getting talked to by the teachers and everything else. And, "Oh, we saw you online, Leo," and, "Oh, we saw you won an award." But the funniest thing is he comes back, he gets into the car and he's just like, oh man, it's too creepy there. He's like, I can't deal with it. He's like, they're telling me stuff that I don't know yet. He's like, well, why do you keep, going online and saying things? He's like, because I need to find these things out first, because when they're telling me, oh, congratulations, he's like, I have no clue what they're talking about. I was like, okay. He's like, and I can't pull my phone out. So if you've messaged me, I don't know what to brief. I was like, check it out, son. It's what I do. I was like, because most people I bump into, a lot of people know me in Northampton. I don't know their names. I'm not Facebook. I don't have my Google glasses yet. So I'm just like, yeah, buddy, cool, yeah. I was like, just roll with it. Just learn to roll with it. And he was just like, okay. But he's amazing. And yeah, he comes home, he bakes, he helps me mix. We have to scoop all these still by hand because we haven't purchased a depositor yet. We took the depositor money and we bought the ambulance because we thought that was a better business venture. Because that allows us to be mobile and to start our blogging business for him. And yeah, I think in maybe around Christmas time, we might purchase a depositor because we'll need it by then, because orders, once again, will super spike. And hand scooping, it's not fun. I'm getting like a RSI in my wrist.
Okay, talk to us about the ambulance. So this is you mentioned this off air before we started recording. So this is going to be really for Leo. But this is all about your love of food and how far you're prepared to travel to find good food, right?
Yeah, man. Me and Leo, like I said, we travel quite a distance. I've traveled like 150 miles for a burger, some donuts. It's kind of like I don't really drink or anything like that, so. Food is kind of a thing for us, man. You know what I mean? So, and it's something that we can both share because he's a minor. So we'll hop in a car and we'll go, oh yeah, you seen that pizza? It looks like a New York pizza. And he's like, oh yeah, I've found this. Dad, let's go to Manchester. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And we'll just hop in the car and just drive over there, eat the pizza. If it's good, we'll share it on our gram and say, oh yeah, that's really good. They've cracked it. If it's bad, we kind of explain why it could be or how it could be better. If it's terrible, it doesn't even get a mention. But the only mention it gets is we were here, and that's it. And people are like, oh, I take it that it's terrible then. But with our van or our ambulance that we're getting tricked out to look just like an awesome American ambulance, it's gonna have the sirens, lights. So the sirens are already in there because it's an old ambo, but it's gonna have the lights and everything else. We're going to turn the interior into a bit of a studio. So it's going to have maybe 2 or 3 GoPro cameras. So it's going to be a constant studio setting all the time. So we'll cruise up to a food place, bring the food back into our ambo, and we'll start shooting and vlogging. And by the time we get back home, Leo would have edited and uploaded it, and we'll start to get content and, see what happens. Yeah, it's a fun way to show off our food.
He's already becoming a superstar, but he's going to become an even bigger superstar. I love it. I absolutely love it. Talk to us quickly before we start closing off. Talk to us about the awards.
Oh, the awards are cool, man. I mean, we got, we didn't expect the whole Great British Entrepreneur Award stuff, so we got Family Business of the Year in the Midlands. And then we got the big one, which is Great British Entrepreneur of the Midlands area, which is crazy because then my friend Alan, he reached out to me, the owner of Grenade, and he was like, job well done, John. And I was like, oh, cool, mate. He's like, I won these in 2010, so just like that. And I was like, yeah, I know where you are, brother. me and Leo could use that like right now. But yeah, it's just cool to see people like that because I know Alan's story. I met Alan in 2010 at Body Power when I went there dressed as Mr. T doing some events work. And I was like, who's this crazy guy in front of a tank? And it was Alan. And then when I found out the whole story, that was his last bucks, man. And he put that all into then. And from that show, the grenade, it exploded. And people, he said initially were like, oh, what are you doing? Why are you doing a tank at an event? But you know what? That was the most sought after and people took pictures in front of that thing. People were just drawn to that energy and excitement. And from people like him, I've realized not going like full crazy, like, oh, I need a Harrier jet or something. No, get an achievable thing. You can get a tank. It worked for his business. Grenade, tank, come on. So for us, we got the BBC ambulance, you know what I mean? So if somebody needs a BBC emergency, we cruise up. So we got that, and it's an American ambulance. We're Americans. And it just really, really works, man. It's going to be fun. It's a unique vehicle. And it was a really, essentially, it was rather cheap because it was already here in the UK. It just wasn't being used. Yeah.
And what about the new award nomination? So there's a Northamptonshire award.
Yeah. We got the old Northamptonshire Business Excellence Awards, which is quite cool. We're gonna have that. I don't know. Everybody's doing this COVID situation, so they're trying to do it live, but I don't know.
What's the category?
Oh, food and drink.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, we didn't have a clue. We were like, what? You know, and then when they said, oh, it's food. Hey, what did you get? Oh, Businessman of the Year. Awesome, brother.
Well, if it's a live event, which I doubt, I'll see you there. But I'm presuming they're going to do it virtually, right?
Yeah, the Great British one. Yeah, they had to do it virtual. I don't see it. I mean, come on, the president just got COVID, so I don't really think anybody's going to risk it.
Not like he cared. I mean, this guy's literally just walking around giving his private security it, and
just breathing in the COVID.
It's like, yeah, it's fine. Absolute madness. John, look, honestly, phenomenal story. As I said, I freaking love your brand. I love your product. We're going to make sure in our show notes there's lots of links to your websites. You've even got a subscription service, so for people that literally want it consistently, they can. And I'm going to be talking to you off air about how we can potentially partner up with my business, Longhurst, and yours. Two final questions before I let you go on and get back to making brownies, because the world needs more brownies.
This is true.
First question is sort of post-COVID. So let's pretend it's 2021. We've had our vaccinations, or whoever's allowed vaccinations has been given vaccinations.
Yeah.
What are you and Leo looking forward to doing the most that perhaps you can't do at the moment?
Hugging people. I mean, honestly. Yeah, when we used to drop things off, man, you know, you do the hand slap and you do the bro hug. There were, you know, older women, or even like other girls, or even just some guys. Sometimes they just want a huge hug, man. And we'd do that. We'd just be like, yeah, we're shaking, bro. Thanks for, you know, believing in us and ordering. And we actually had, before COVID, a lot of our first-person shooter videos of the interactions. And when we got the feedback, people were just like, yeah, you guys are just another level of just interaction and fun and just straight. Because that's how I'd usually greet people, you know what I mean, with a hug, or, you know, a bro hug or whatever else. But that interaction now, it's just like, you could see when you're giving the box, they just want to keep chatting, and you're just like, we got masks on, I can barely understand you, and this is just terrible, but we got to get rid of COVID, man, and just have back to normality and being cool again, and just being, I guess, one big family, man. Just being cool with everybody. I just want that back.
Yeah, I look forward to that. That sounds like a great utopia post-COVID. Final question. It's a food-related question, so you're going to absolutely nail this. And I've searched, I've travelled the world, I've spoken to gurus, I've been to Nepal, and this is the most deep question, the toughest question, like a Parkinson level question that I've constructed to end our show, John. So I'm going to give it a little drum roll.
Okay.
What is the king of crisps?
Ooh, king of crisps. Oh, potato chips. Yeah. What do I like? I like a nice ridge cut Ruffles, or a Ruffles potato chip. It has to have some texture on it, man. I can't have that. Ooh. You call them Lay? Well, no, we are Lays in America. It's strange. You guys have Walkers. They're pretty much the same company.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the ridged potato chip that's on your Staten Island dump. I need to have the texture, the crunch when I bite into it.
What flavor?
That's just original, man. Original sea salt. That's about it.
Simple.
Do not mess things up with like paprika and like cayenne pepper or curry powder. You're gonna catch a slap. But I mean, I just want a regular potato chip to accompany my sandwich. You know what I mean? Formula One, I had no clue what it was up until like 5 years ago. I did Chrissy's stag do, and it was me, him, Adrian, David, and everybody else were just having like a party, man. It was just like, I had to go out now. That's Mr. T. So I picked these guys up in like a party bus, and I don't know who any of them are, man. And it's the funny thing. We drive away from this really like swanky restaurant, because I was supposed to attack them at the restaurant, yelling at them and everything. And they're driving, and I see them whispering in the back. I was like, it's gonna be an awkward day. And then like David was like, you don't have a clue who we are, do you? I was like, no, man. I was like, I've just been bucked by him, Chris's brother. And he's like, okay. He's like, do you watch Formula One? I was like, that's like NASCAR, right? And then they just started laughing. They were like, It's gonna be an amazing day, man. But yeah, like later on, like I found out, it's like Christian Horner, David Coulthard, and Adrian Newey and everything else. And I was just like, they would party hard, but we had like a hangover night, I mean, it was crazy. But pretty much they were partying, with Mr. T. It was the funniest moment. And then end of the night, Chris is a bit tipsy and everything. He's like, oh mate, you gotta come to the wedding. And I was like, I don't really drink especially when I'm in character. I was like, nah. I was like, bro, your wife don't want me at your wedding. This
is Christian Horner inviting you to the wedding.
Yeah.
Of Geri Halliwell, which they had at Woburn.
Yeah. I was like, mate, she don't want me at the wedding.
What a story.
And he was like, hold on. Yeah, man, it's cool. She wants you there. I was like, Chris, if you call me in 3 weeks and you still want me there, all right, bro, because I think it's bullshit. And so and then I gave him a hug, everything else. Had some fun and then left. And 3 weeks later, you come to the wedding? I was like,
seriously?
Yeah, I was like, okay. Yeah, man. I was just like, ended up at the wedding, did a speech, introduced the first dance, was breakdancing with Geri on the dance floor.
Sorry, so you went to Christian Horner and Geri Halliwell's wedding?
Yeah, bro. I mean, I was like one of the
story.
Like one of the 100 people, I think, because like the next morning on like Monday, everybody on like what's that show? Good Morning, whatever the hell it was, with Ryland and Holly Willoughby and all that. Yeah. Ryland was like, "Oh, it was Geri's wedding over the weekend, and I didn't get an invite." And I'm thinking, I got an invite, and I got paid to be there. I mean,
that is absolutely outstanding, John. Very good, John. Brooklyn Brownie Co, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing the story behind Leo and you and the family. It's as I said off air, horrendous situation, but from it has come beauty. You've got an amazing company, an amazing brand. One day I hope to meet Leo and you, certainly post-COVID. I definitely want one of those hugs. And as I said, there's going to be lots of links in the show notes so people can find you. Go and find them. They're a Northamptonshire-based organisation delivering phenomenal brownie at a really sensible price. Unless you're going to buy £1,000 worth of gold-wrapped ones, which is just on point. So that is just mental. John, thank you for coming on the show.
No, thank you for having me, Chris.
Cheers. Take care.
The Inside Silverstone podcast is produced by the team at Longhurst for the benefit of those with a passion for all things tech, engineering and innovation. For more information, please visit longhurst.co.uk/Inside Silverstone, whilst also remembering to give us a 5 out of 5 star rating on iTunes. Please note that neither Chris Broome or Longhurst work for Silverstone Park, Silverstone Circuit or Silverstone Technology Cluster.